Possibly the most controversial prospect in the 2020 NFL Draft was Justin Herbert out of Oregon. He was a player with a big arm, he had great size standing at 6'6", but many questioned his decision-making back in college. They worried that his hit-or-miss play style would lead to very inconsistent results in the NFL. Well, despite these concerns, Herbert is already proving his doubters wrong. He's been playing incredibly well, even though his team has failed on a number of occasions to pull off the win. Now that we're a little over halfway through the season, I think it's time to break down his play in detail. I want to look at what he does well, I want to look at what he can improve on, and I want to discuss some of the things that scouts said about him while he was in college. We'll start this breakdown by looking at one of my favorite plays. This happened in his first start against the Kansas City Chiefs. It was 3rd and 10 in the third quarter. The Chiefs had 8 men on the line of scrimmage while the Chargers were lining up in shotgun. After the snap, the Chiefs dropped into cover 2 invert. Their outside cornerbacks dropped into deep half-field zones, while the rest of the secondary dropped into a 5 under zone defense. From the right side of the formation, the Chargers were running a double post concept. Keenan Allen attacked the middle of the field. Watch Herbert's throw on this one. It's absolutely perfect. Under pressure, Herbert put it over Tyrann Mathieu's hand, and he put it in only a place where Allen can grab it and bring it in for the big game. This was an incredible throw, and it shows you exactly the type of high-level talent that Herbert clearly has. These plays were all over his film. Even when the play was breaking down, Herbert consistently created when others simply couldn't. Take this play against the Saints in the first quarter. The Chargers were lining up an empty set shotgun with the trips look on the left. Meanwhile, the Saints had 2 safeties deep. Instead of dropping into a too-high shell like in the previous play, they actually sent an all-out blitz and were playing cover 0 on this one. After the snap, the right side of Herbert's line broke down. This forced him to scramble outside. He escaped the rush, and he did a great job of keeping his eyes down the field. Keenan Allen from the slot had a one-on-one against his defender, and he had him beaten to the end zone. Herbert saw this, and he threw the ball in order to give him a chance. Allen adjusted the throw by jumping in front of his defender, and he brought it in for the touchdown. When I look over Herbert's film, the one thing that consistently stands out to me was that he doesn't seem to panic. He understands how to improvise, and he moves well outside the pocket while all hell is breaking free. He has enough legs to make a play on the ground, and he generally has a good sense for where to look while he scrambles. Now, making plays as the pocket collapses is one thing, but another thing that I really like about Herbert is that he's a fantastic rhythm-based thrower as well. When his first read is open, Herbert is literally unstoppable. He's the definition of perfection on these types of throws. If he sees a one-on-one opportunity, like a fade out of the slot, he's incredible at delivering a catchable pass to him in stride. What's interesting is that this is actually something that scouts didn't like about him coming out. They said that he didn't trust his eyes to make these types of throws. So far during his rookie season, I don't think that's the case at all. Likewise, another thing that scouts claimed that he needed to work on was that he seemed to go back and forth between being very cautious and very aggressive. This is actually another thing that I noted that I think he's gotten better at since entering the NFL. He typically understands the balance between risk and reward. I feel like he knows when to push it deep and when to find his check down. Now, before we move on and go through some more of his plays, this video was sponsored by my good friends at GetRoman.com. Now, I know it can be awkward and embarrassing to talk about erectile dysfunction, and usually we just brush it off or blame ourselves, but sometimes it's just a struggle. Sometimes I'm the running back and I can confidently read the line of scrimmage and I can hit the A hole, I can hit the B hole, and sometimes even the C hole, but other times I end up pulling a Trent Richardson and I completely miss. That's why Roman is here to help. With Roman, there's no shame at all to treating this issue. They offer free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan possible. The whole process is very simple, it's very straightforward, and it's very discreet as well. If you're one of the many people that have this issue, seriously, you're not alone. Just go to GetRoman.com/gold to get $15 off your first order. Along with medicine to help treat ED, you'll get a free online visit as well as free 2-day shipping. Again, don't delay and go to GetRoman.com/gold to take advantage of this offer. Now, like any rookie coming out, there will obviously be rookie mistakes and areas for him to improve. I think one thing he clearly does well for the Chargers is that he trusts his offense a lot more than he did back in college. I think he's actually gained comfort while being in the NFL. He knows that he can trust his system and his receivers. To me, that makes a huge difference. That's a big reason why he's playing so much better. He trusts that if he throws the ball with anticipation, simply to lead a receiver open, they'll fight for the ball and they'll likely bring it in. Take this play against the Jaguars. After motioning a receiver across the formation, Jacksonville adjusted by sending their outside cornerback towards the sideline. Since no defender trailed across the formation, this means they were likely in zone coverage. That's the case on this one. After seeing this, Herbert knew that the seam route by tight end against a linebacker could be a mismatch. Watch what he did here. After the snap, Herbert found the safety and saw that he was playing deep. He then looked at the linebacker to see how he defended his route. By the 15-yard line, Herbert's tight end already had his defender beat. Linebacker was late to carry the number 2 seam, so Herbert made him pay. He lobbed the ball right over his head. He placed it in a perfect spot where only his tight end could bring it in. This was an excellent throw, and it's amazing recognition by Herbert to take advantage of how the defense was covering this one. Now, like I mentioned a moment ago, there are definitely things he can get better at. And like any typical Sam Gold film room, this starts the improvement section of this breakdown. For me, the first thing that stands out to me that I think Herbert needs to get better at is that at times he'll be late on throws when he needs to pull the trigger. He'll be late on passes where the ball has to have been out a half the full second earlier than it should. Now, from my notes, this primarily happened on deep passes. In the quick game or when he's making a read based on a defined defender like a hook roll linebacker, I think he typically does those correctly. However, sometimes when he looks deep, he'll just be a bit late on some of those throws. Take this pass against the Broncos. It's 1st and 10 in the first quarter. The Broncos are in a cloud Tampa 2 coverage where they're dropping 2 defenders deep with 1 safety stepping forward and sitting at the 35-yard line. Meanwhile, on the offensive side, Herbert has Keenan Allen running a deep bench route. Allen's goal is to find the space between the 2 sideline zone defenders, which is exactly why he broke his route at the 30-yard line. I want you to pay close attention to when Herbert threw this ball. He's late on this one. If he threw the ball at the moment that Allen crossed the 35-yard line, there's a very good chance it's completion. However, he stood in the pocket waiting. Now, his actual throw and placement was perfectly fine. It's just his timing I think was off. This was a consistent theme I saw from Herbert throughout his rookie season. Another thing outside of this issue was that at times Herbert had a habit of locking into his primary read where he'll refuse to come off of it. He'll sit there hoping they'll get open. Let me show you an example in the first quarter against the Jaguars. On this one, the Jaguars are running cover 3 Mabel. They were playing cover 3 zone across the board except for the cornerback at the bottom of your screen who is playing in man coverage. Many defenses will call this coverage to a trips look in order to counter a 3-by-1 formation. That's exactly what they're doing here. Knowing this, the deep crossing route from the opposite side is your primary read. If the receiver can cross the face of the safety, there's a good chance that this throw could be a touchdown. Let's look closely at what happened here. As soon as Herbert hit the top of his drop, he should be watching the safety to see how he reacted. If his hips are completely flipped and he took a wrong step, Herbert should throw this pass. However, that's not what happened on this one. The safety saw the route coming and he was in perfect position to shut it down. At this point in the play, Herbert needs to move on. He needs to realize that the throw is dead and he needs to continue on his progressions. He should now be looking towards the sideline in his check down. This play came on 1st and 10, so there's no reason at all to make this throw. Herbert left yards on the field when I think his check down could have picked up a reasonable gain. The final thing that I'm going to say about Herbert, and this happens far less than the other 2 issues I talked about before, is that Herbert will take sacks and hits when he simply doesn't have to. I think over the course of the season he's already gotten better at this, but sometimes he'll take a stupid sack like this one. Herbert was already outside the pocket, there was nobody open down the field, and all he had to do was throw the ball away. Instead, he slid to the ground for absolutely no reason. Moving on, and like I said earlier, Herbert does have things he can get better at. This is the case for literally every single quarterback out there. However, the one thing I'm going to say is not a single thing that I mentioned earlier makes me overly concerned. Now let me be clear about this, if Herbert never improves, then yeah, sure, it certainly does limit his potential. But the way I see it is that his positives more than make up for his negatives. Dude is playing exceptionally well, and I really like what I've seen from his film. Now, before we end this breakdown, it's in my strong opinion that Herbert should be your Offensive Rookie of the Year. Outside of him, there's really only one other player that I think is truly in contention in this moment. That player is Joe Burrow, the quarterback that went 1st overall to the Cincinnati Bengals. He's also having a pretty good season as well. While this may be the case, Herbert is currently in the lead. To show you why I think this, here are some advanced stats so you can be the judge yourself. As you can see, Herbert has a higher QBR, he has a much higher touchdown percentage, he has a much better adjusted net yards per attempt, and he also has a higher expected points added per play. Meanwhile, in the areas where Burrow has the lead, like in Pro Football Focus grade, or in interception percentage, and even completion percentage over expected, it's not like Burrow is drastically better in any one of those metrics. Now, I'm not using this to say that Herbert is so much better, or that Burrow is somehow a bust or something like that. All I am saying is that Herbert is in the lead, even though Burrow is having a pretty good rookie season as well. Overall, and to wrap up this video, what I really like about Herbert is that he gives his team a chance. When you have receivers like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Hunter Henry, simply having a quarterback that is willing to take shots is a plus. Unlike Tyrod Taylor, who held onto the football for far too long and who took horrible sacks, Herbert has been the complete opposite. He'll take chances, he'll extend plays, and he clearly trusts his scheme to take those opportunities. For a rookie quarterback, that's all I really need to see for me to give him the gold stamp of approval. Yes, as we've already discussed, there are definitely things he needs to work on, That's the case with every single rookie out there. But the difference between Herbert and even some of the other veteran quarterbacks that we've broken down this channel is that Herbert's average level of play still makes him a top 16 quarterback. It took years for some of those other quarterbacks to get to that point, and Herbert has shown some clear upside to get even better. For me, the way I see this is very simple. For all the crap that Herbert got when he came out of college, he's already proving his doubters wrong. He is a clear franchise quarterback, and in my strong opinion, he should be this season's Offensive Rookie of the Year. Well, that's all I have for you in this one. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe to my channel below. If you want to support the channel directly, feel free to follow the link to my Patreon account as well. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and for my latest updates, you can find me on Twitter at Samuel R. Gold.